President Donald Trump is suing CNN for defamation. The lawsuit filed today is seeking $475 million in damages, alleging a, quote, campaign of libel and slander against the former president.
Donald Trump's stunning return to the political arena in the 2024 presidential election took the world by storm. His decisive victory over incumbent Kamala Harris not only reignited fierce partisan debates, but also set the stage for one of the most unprecedented post-election controversies in modern history. Just weeks after his inauguration, Trump launched a series of defamation lawsuits against several prominent liberal television hosts, including Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel. At the heart of these lawsuits was a sensitive subject: remarks made about his youngest son, Barron Trump. The unfolding drama captivated the nation, leaving even the most seasoned political analysts stunned. Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more exclusive news. The lawsuits stemmed from monologues aired during the contentious campaign season. Colbert, Kimmel, and a few other late-night comedians had taken aim at Trump's policies, rhetoric, and personal life, which wasn't unusual in their line of work. However, some jokes about Barron Trump, then a teenager, crossed a line in the eyes of many, including his father. Trump, known for his thin skin and combative nature, announced in a press conference that he would hold these comedians accountable for their vicious and unfounded attacks on his son. "They can joke about me all they want," Trump declared, "but when they drag an innocent child into their hate-filled agenda, they've gone too far." The legal filings alleged that Colbert, Kimmel, and others had defamed Barron and inflicted emotional distress upon him. Trump's legal team argued that the jokes perpetuated false narratives and subjected Barron to harassment and ridicule, causing harm to his well-being. The move was highly controversial, sparking debates over the boundaries of free speech, satire, and the rights of public figures' families to be shielded from scrutiny. As the lawsuits progressed, they became a media circus. Late-night hosts, often unified in their criticism of Trump, doubled down on their mockery, portraying the lawsuits as an attack on the First Amendment. Colbert, in particular, opened one of his shows with a scathing response. "So the man who invented the phrase fake news is now upset about satire? Interesting." Kimmel, meanwhile, joked that he was eagerly awaiting his courtroom debut, quipping, "I've always wanted to see a judge try not to laugh while hearing one of my jokes read back in a legal context." The legal battles quickly escalated. Trump's lawyers, led by a team of high-profile attorneys, pursued their case with fervor. They presented clips of the offending monologues in court, juxtaposed with testimony from child psychologists who argued that such public ridicule could have serious psychological impacts on a teenager like Barron. The defense teams, representing the comedians and their networks, countered with vigorous arguments about the importance of satire in a free society. They invoked landmark Supreme Court cases like Hustler Magazine v. Falwell to argue that even offensive speech is protected under the Constitution. The public reaction was sharply divided. Trump's supporters rallied around him, viewing the lawsuits as a bold stand against what they saw as a biased and hostile media. Barron, they argued, deserved to be left out of the relentless political fray. On the other side, critics accused Trump of attempting to silence dissent and undermine press freedoms. Protests erupted outside courthouses where the cases were being heard, with demonstrators carrying signs bearing slogans like "Protect Free Speech" and "Leave Barron Alone." As the legal drama unfolded, an unexpected twist shocked everyone. Barron Trump himself, who had largely stayed out of the spotlight during his father's political career, released a statement through his attorney. In it, he expressed his desire for the lawsuits to be dropped, stating that he didn't want to be the center of a national controversy. "I understand my father's desire to protect me, but I do not wish to be a pawn in a larger political battle," the statement read. The move was widely praised for its maturity and grace, adding a surprising layer of complexity to the situation. Despite Barron's request, Trump was reluctant to back down. He believed that the lawsuit sent an important message about the need for civility in public discourse. However, Barron's statement had a profound impact on the public and legal proceedings. The comedians used his words to argue that the lawsuits were not only unwarranted, but also against the wishes of the very person they were supposedly defending. This strategic pivot resonated with the judges overseeing the cases, who began to question the merits of the lawsuits. Meanwhile, the media frenzy surrounding the lawsuits intensified, with every development analyzed and debated endlessly on cable news and social media. Some outlets ran sympathetic profiles of Barron, portraying him as a young man caught in an impossible situation. Others criticized Trump for dragging his son into the limelight to settle personal scores. The late-night hosts, ever defiant, continued to incorporate the lawsuits into their routines, using the absurdity of the situation as comedic fodder. Eventually, a breakthrough occurred when one of the judges overseeing the case proposed mediation. The idea was to reach a resolution that could satisfy both parties without further escalating tensions. After weeks of behind-the-scenes negotiations, a settlement was announced. While the details were kept confidential, sources close to the matter suggested that the comedians had agreed to issue a general statement reaffirming their commitment to avoiding personal attacks on minors. In exchange, Trump agreed to drop the lawsuits. The settlement marked the end of one of the most bizarre and polarizing episodes in modern American politics, but the fallout continued to ripple through the cultural and political landscape. The lawsuits reignited discussions about the role of satire in society and the ethical responsibilities of public figures and media personalities. Some saw the outcome as a victory for free speech, while others believed it underscored the need for more respectful political discourse. For Trump, the episode reinforced his reputation as a polarizing figure willing to take on the media establishment. His supporters viewed the lawsuits as a courageous stand against a culture of mockery and disrespect, while his critics saw them as a dangerous attempt to stifle dissent. Barron, for his part, emerged from the ordeal with newfound respect from the public. His statement and the dignity with which he handled the situation earned him praise across the political spectrum, positioning him as an unexpected voice of reason in a chaotic moment. In the months that followed, late-night television adapted to the post-lawsuit landscape. While political satire remained a staple, there was a noticeable shift in tone when it came to the families of public figures. Jokes targeting children became rare, as networks and comedians sought to avoid another high-profile controversy. The incident also inspired broader conversations about the line between humor and harm, with some comedians reflecting on the power and responsibility that come with their platforms. For the broader public, the spectacle offered a rare glimpse into the complexities of balancing free speech with personal dignity. It served as a reminder that even in a highly polarized society, there are moments that demand reflection and restraint. In the end, the lawsuits may not have achieved all of Trump's objectives, but they left an indelible mark on the cultural and political fabric of the nation. And as America continued to navigate its deep divisions, the episode stood as a testament to the enduring tensions between power, media, and the public sphere. The aftermath of Donald Trump's lawsuits against Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, and other liberal television hosts was far more complex than anyone had anticipated. While the legal battle officially ended with a settlement, its ramifications extended well beyond the courtroom. The cultural, political, and legal ripples from the controversy touched nearly every aspect of American life, sparking debates and triggering unforeseen consequences. One of the most significant outcomes was the heightened scrutiny placed on media ethics. Newsrooms and entertainment studios alike began revisiting their internal guidelines regarding public figures' families. The question of whether children and teenagers should be considered off-limits became a focal point of discussion in editorial meetings across the country. While satire and comedy traditionally enjoy broad protections under the First Amendment, the boundaries of those protections suddenly seemed more ambiguous. Media analysts speculated that the lawsuits might set a precedent that would embolden other public figures to take similar legal action in the future, potentially leading to a chilling effect on political satire. The public, meanwhile, remained deeply divided over the implications of the lawsuits. Supporters of the comedians argued that satire plays a vital role in holding power to account, particularly in a democracy. They worried that even the perception of legal intimidation could discourage comedians from addressing sensitive but important topics. Critics, however, saw things differently. Many believed that late-night television had become too politically charged, and that the focus on Barron Trump represented a lapse in judgment that warranted accountability. The lawsuits became a litmus test for broader cultural attitudes toward humor, civility, and the responsibilities of public figures. Even outside the US, the controversy resonated. Media outlets around the world reported on the unfolding drama, often framing it as a uniquely American clash between free speech and personal boundaries. In Europe, where defamation laws are generally stricter, commentators debated whether similar lawsuits would have been treated differently in their courts. In authoritarian regimes, state-run media seized on the spectacle to criticize Western democracies, portraying the controversy as evidence of societal dysfunction and hypocrisy. The global nature of the debate underscored the interconnectedness of modern media and the far-reaching implications of high-profile legal battles. Within the comedy world, the fallout was equally profound. While Colbert and Kimmel remained defiant on air, privately, many comedians began reassessing their approach to political humor. Open discussions in writers' rooms revealed a growing tension between the desire to push boundaries and the fear of crossing lines that could result in public backlash or legal action. Some comedians began seeking advice from legal consultants before airing potentially controversial material, a practice that had previously been reserved for topics involving major legal or financial risk. The controversy also had an unexpected impact on the content of late-night shows. In the months following the settlement, viewers noticed a shift in focus. While Trump remained a frequent target, the jokes became more issue-oriented with fewer personal jabs. Segments often centered on policy critiques, historical context, or broader societal trends, signaling a subtle but significant recalibration of the comedic landscape. This change was met with mixed reactions. Some audiences appreciated the more thoughtful tone, while others missed the sharp-edged humor that had defined late-night comedy during Trump's earlier tenure in office. Meanwhile, Barron Trump's unexpected statement continued to generate widespread admiration. His decision to publicly ask for the lawsuits to be dropped sparked an outpouring of support, particularly from young people who saw him as a relatable figure navigating an extraordinary situation. On social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram, hashtags such as #BarronSpeaks and #LeaveKidsOutOfPolitics trended for weeks, with users sharing messages of solidarity and creating content that celebrated his maturity and independence. In many ways, Barron inadvertently became a symbol of resilience for a generation that often feels caught in the crossfire of political polarization. The controversy also had a profound effect on Trump's presidency. Though he had campaigned on promises to unify the nation and restore its greatness, the lawsuits seemed to deepen the divisions that had plagued American politics for years. In the weeks following the settlement, Trump's approval ratings saw a noticeable dip, particularly among independent voters who viewed the lawsuits as an unnecessary distraction. Even some of his Republican allies privately expressed concern that the controversy had overshadowed his early policy initiatives, which included a sweeping tax reform package and new immigration measures. To counteract the negative press, Trump's team launched a full-scale public relations campaign. They framed the lawsuits as part of a broader effort to combat media bias and protect American families from what they called unwarranted character assassinations. Trump himself took to social media, posting videos in which he passionately defended his actions and promised to continue fighting for what he described as basic human decency. His base responded enthusiastically, but the broader public remained skeptical. The lawsuits had raised questions about Trump's priorities, and critics accused him of focusing too much on personal grievances at the expense of governance. Despite the controversy, Trump used the moment to further energize his core supporters. At rallies, he leaned heavily into the narrative of a corrupt and hostile media out to destroy him and his family. Chants of "Leave Barron alone" became a staple at these events, underscoring the deep emotional resonance the issue had with his base. The controversy also became a rallying cry for conservative media outlets, which framed it as yet another example of the left's alleged double standards and hypocrisy. On the other side of the political spectrum, the lawsuits galvanized Trump's opponents, who saw them as a dangerous attack on press freedom. Liberal advocacy groups organized fundraisers to support the comedian's legal teams and launched campaigns highlighting the importance of protecting satire and free speech. Petitions calling for greater protections for journalists and entertainers circulated widely, gathering millions of signatures. The controversy even sparked new legislative proposals aimed at clarifying the legal boundaries of satire and defamation. though these efforts faced an uphill battle in the deeply divided Congress. The lawsuits also inspired a wave of artistic responses. Documentaries, podcasts, and even a few independent films explored the broader implications of the controversy, often delving into the history of political satire and its role in shaping public discourse. One particularly popular documentary, titled Laughing in the Face of Power, featured interviews with comedians, legal experts, and political historians who offered nuanced perspectives on the case. The film was praised for its balanced approach and became a cultural touchstone for those seeking to understand the deeper issues at play. Amidst all this, the Trump family dynamics came under closer scrutiny. Melania Trump, who had long advocated for children's rights through her Be Best initiative, remained largely silent on the issue, fueling speculation about her views. Ivanka Trump, known for her polished public persona, issued a brief statement supporting her father's decision to sue, but emphasized the importance of respecting all children's. The contrasting responses added another layer of intrigue to the already complex family dynamic, with analysts speculating about the influence each family member had on Trump's decision-making process. The controversy also highlighted broader societal tensions surrounding the treatment of public figures' families. While the Trump lawsuits were unique in their scale and visibility, they brought renewed attention to similar incidents involving other politicians and celebrities, from Chelsea Clinton to Sasha and Malia Obama. The children of public figures have often found themselves thrust into the limelight, sometimes with deeply personal consequences. The lawsuits reignited calls for a universal code of conduct among media professionals, emphasizing the need to distinguish between legitimate criticism of public officials and invasive scrutiny of their families. In academic circles, the controversy sparked a surge of research and discussion. Scholars in fields ranging from media studies to constitutional law debated the long-term implications of the lawsuits, with some arguing that they represented a pivotal moment in the evolution of American political and cultural norms. Law journals published in-depth analyses of the cases, exploring their potential impact on future litigation involving public figures and the media. Meanwhile, sociology professors incorporated the controversy into their curricula, using it as a case study to examine the intersections of power, media, and public opinion. The ripple effects of the lawsuits even reached the tech industry. Social media platforms, already under pressure to combat misinformation and harmful content, found themselves facing new challenges related to satire and parody. Algorithms designed to flag defamatory or offensive material struggled to differentiate between legitimate satire and actual hate speech, leading to debates about how best to balance content moderation with free expression. In response, several platforms introduced new features, allowing users to report content they believed crossed the line, though these changes were met with mixed reviews. Over time, the initial shock and fervor surrounding the lawsuits began to fade, but their legacy endured. For Trump, the lawsuits remained a defining moment of his second presidency, encapsulating both his combative style and his enduring appeal to a loyal base. For the comedians and their supporters, the controversy became a rallying point in the ongoing struggle to protect artistic freedom in an increasingly polarized society. And for the nation as a whole, the episode served as a stark reminder of the complexities and contradictions inherent in the quest to balance free speech with personal dignity. In the years that followed, the lessons of the Trump lawsuits continued to resonate. They underscored the power of words, both spoken and written, and the profound impact they can have on individuals and society. They highlighted the challenges of navigating a media landscape that is at once deeply interconnected and sharply divided. And perhaps most importantly, they sparked a broader conversation about the kind of society Americans want to build. One that values both freedom and respect, both satire and sensitivity. The controversy surrounding Trump's lawsuits against Colbert, Kimmel, and others was about far more than legal disputes or political grudges. It was a reflection of the nation's struggles with identity, values, and the role of humor in a democracy. It was a moment that, for better or worse, captured the essence of a deeply divided but endlessly dynamic America. And as the nation moved forward, the lessons of that moment remained a powerful reminder of the enduring tensions and possibilities that define the American experiment. The Trump lawsuits against prominent liberal comedians ushered in a new era of heightened tension between the presidency, media, and the entertainment industry. In the months following the settlement, the broader ramifications of the controversy began to reveal themselves in ways that no one could have anticipated. Beyond the immediate legal and cultural fallout, the lawsuits had far-reaching consequences on various facets of American life, from education and technology to global diplomacy and even the arts. These developments signaled a lasting transformation in the nation's cultural and political landscape, as the reverberations of Trump's actions continued to unfold. One of the unexpected consequences of the lawsuits was the renewed debate over civics education in American schools. Educators across the country began incorporating the controversy into lessons on free speech, the First Amendment, and the responsibilities of public figures. High school and college students found themselves analyzing the legal arguments presented by both Trump's lawyers and the comedians' defense teams. Mock trials and debates on the subject became common in classrooms, with students arguing the merits and limitations of satire as a tool for political critique. This renewed focus on civics was seen as a silver lining by some, as it encouraged a generation of young Americans to engage more critically with their rights and the legal system. However, not everyone welcomed this shift. Conservative-leaning school boards in certain states expressed concerns that the discussions surrounding the lawsuits were being framed in a way that portrayed Trump negatively. In response, some districts introduced their own curricula, emphasizing the importance of respect and civility in public discourse. These diverging approaches sparked heated debates at school board meetings, often mirroring the broader national divide over how history and civics should be taught. The lawsuits thus inadvertently fueled an educational culture war, with both sides claiming to champion the principles of democracy and free expression. On college campuses, the controversy gave rise to a wave of student activism. Groups advocating for press freedoms and creative expression organized rallies and panel discussions featuring legal experts, comedians, and journalists. Meanwhile, conservative student organizations held events emphasizing the need for decorum in public discourse, often inviting speakers who had faced backlash for controversial statements. These events frequently became flashpoints for protests, with students on opposing sides clashing over the boundaries of acceptable speech. The Trump lawsuits had become more than a legal dispute. They were now a symbol of the deeper ideological battles playing out in the nation's academic institutions. The entertainment industry, too, underwent significant changes in the wake of the controversy. While late-night comedians continued to satirize Trump, they did so with a newfound caution when it came to involving his family. Networks imposed stricter guidelines on their writers, urging them to steer clear of jokes that could be construed as personal attacks on children or other non-public figures. These changes, while subtle, signaled a shift in the tone and content of political humor. Comedy clubs, once seen as bastions of unfiltered expression, also felt the impact. Performers began to tread more carefully, aware that a single joke could spark outrage or even legal action. Yet not all comedians adapted willingly. A new wave of younger, edgier performers emerged, pushing back against what they saw as an overcorrection. These comedians embraced a style that was deliberately provocative, often testing the limits of free speech in their routines. Their acts frequently addressed the lawsuits directly, framing them as an example of society's growing inability to handle criticism or controversy. This new breed of comedians gained a devoted following, particularly among younger audiences who felt disillusioned with both the political establishment and the perceived sanitization of mainstream entertainment. Meanwhile, the legal profession experienced its own reckoning. Trump's lawsuits sparked a surge in demand for attorneys specializing in media law and defamation cases. Law firms across the country saw a sharp increase in inquiries from clients concerned about the potential legal ramifications of their public statements. This trend extended beyond the entertainment industry, with corporations, social media influencers, and even private citizens seeking legal advice on how to navigate the increasingly treacherous waters of public discourse. As a result, media law became one of the fastest-growing specializations in the legal field, with universities expanding their offerings to meet the rising demand. The impact of the controversy also extended to the world of technology. Social media platforms, already under scrutiny for their role in shaping public opinion, faced renewed pressure to address the spread of defamatory or harmful content. Platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube introduced new tools aimed at helping users distinguish between satire and misinformation. These tools included disclaimers on satirical content and improved algorithms designed to flag posts that might violate community guidelines. While these changes were intended to foster a more informed and respectful online environment, they also sparked debates about censorship and the potential stifling of creative expression. At the same time, the lawsuits catalyzed a growing movement for media literacy. Nonprofit organizations and advocacy groups began launching initiatives aimed at teaching people how to critically evaluate news and entertainment content. These programs emphasized the importance of understanding the context and intent behind satirical material, helping individuals better navigate the complexities of modern media. Workshops, online courses, and public service campaigns sought to equip Americans with the tools needed to discern fact from fiction and recognize the value of satire as a form of social commentary. In the political arena, the controversy surrounding the lawsuits became a powerful tool for both parties. For Republicans, the lawsuits reinforced their narrative of a media landscape biased against conservatives. Trump's allies frequently cited the controversy in fundraising appeals and campaign speeches, portraying the lawsuits as part of a broader effort to hold the liberal elite accountable. Democrats, on the other hand, used the lawsuits to highlight what they saw as Trump's authoritarian tendencies and disregard for press freedoms. The issue became a key talking point in the 2026 midterm elections, with both sides seeking to capitalize on the public's polarized views. The lawsuits also had unexpected implications for U.S. foreign relations. Leaders in other countries took note of the controversy, with some expressing admiration for Trump's willingness to challenge the media. In authoritarian regimes, state-run media outlets praised the lawsuits as a bold stand against Western hypocrisy, using them as propaganda to justify their own crackdowns on dissent. Conversely, in democratic nations, the lawsuits raised concerns about the potential erosion of press freedoms in the United States, leading to critical editorials and statements from international human rights organizations. The global response underscored the high stakes of the controversy and its potential to influence perceptions of American democracy abroad. Beyond politics and media, the lawsuits left their mark on the arts. Writers, filmmakers, and visual artists began exploring the controversy in their work, using it as a lens through which to examine broader societal issues. Plays and films dramatizing the lawsuits offered audiences a chance to grapple with the ethical dilemmas at the heart of the case. Novels and graphic novels took a more introspective approach, delving into the personal toll of public scrutiny and the complexities of navigating fame in the digital age. These artistic endeavors added depth and nuance to the public conversation, helping to humanize the individuals involved and foster empathy across ideological divides. Perhaps the most surprising development in the wake of the lawsuits was the emergence of grassroots movements aimed at promoting empathy and understanding in public discourse. Community organizations and faith-based groups began hosting dialogues and workshops designed to bridge the divide between people with differing political views. These efforts often drew inspiration from Barron Trump's statement, which many saw as a call for greater compassion and civility. While these initiatives faced significant challenges in a deeply polarized society, they represented a hopeful countercurrent to the rancor and division that had characterized much of the national conversation. For Donald Trump himself, the lawsuits became both a source of pride and a persistent point of contention. While they solidified his image as a fierce defender of his family, they also underscored the challenges of navigating the complex relationship between politics and media in the modern era. Even after the lawsuits were settled, Trump continued to reference them in speeches and interviews, framing them as a defining moment of his presidency. Yet the controversy also served as a reminder of the limits of power and the enduring tensions between personal conviction and public accountability. In the end, the Trump lawsuits against Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, and other comedians were far more than a fleeting headline or political sideshow. They were a reflection of deeper societal currents illuminating the challenges and contradictions of a nation grappling with its identity in an age of rapid change and relentless scrutiny. As America continued to wrestle with questions of free speech, media ethics, and the role of humor in public life, the lessons of the lawsuits remained as relevant as ever, offering a sobering reminder of both the power and the peril of words in a divided world. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Trump suing liberal hosts for insulting Barron? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.